But enough of the lectures. Okay, where are we right now? Shambro. Stuck energy. Let me define a little bit about what's going on. The world is in chaos, as it never has been before. Energy is moving faster. Consciousness is more stuck in one way, more threatened in another way, and more fearful than it's ever been, even in my lifetimes on Earth. You have government leaders at the highest levels, with a few exceptions, that have no clue. Now, they get in front of the television cameras and they say, we have looked at this issue and we feel that we have the appropriate new program, which will involve some new taxes, of course, to handle the issues that are in front of the populace. And we ask everybody to have confidence. Then they run back to their little rooms that they hide in, and they don't know what to do. This is very, very prolific around the earth right now. We drop in sometimes, particularly Adamus, at these meetings of your G8. We call them the G-whiz meetings. And and everybody acts important, and they act like they have to defend and create this energy for their country, for their constituents. And they go into these meetings and they have all sorts of documents, massive documents that they have not read and never will. And they put forth solutions that they don't even believe in, because they know that those solutions will never get accepted. They go in and throw these solutions on the table, knowing it's simply a matter of debate, or a point of debate, and not a point of solution. So your leaders, with a few exceptions, do not have a clue of how to handle the world's problems right now. Partly because there has been no school, there have been no mentors that have ever gone through what is happening on Earth before. So it's all speculation, and it's all theory, and more than anything, it's all window dressing. It's like the Oz behind the curtain, making the big noises, but not having a clue. Now, that should be a little bit unsettling for you. Just a little bit. And by the way, we have to laugh, because we do drop in on these meetings. Have you ever noticed that at the end of the day, the solutions always mean either hiring somebody to study it, which means nothing will ever get done, or increasing taxes, which means a few people get wealthier. But, dear friends, in the hallways of governments and parliaments and legislatures and dictatorships and all the rest of these, they don't know. That's frightening. Let's move on to the next frightening scenario. And dear Jean-Paul, I'm saying this in earnest to you. I'm saying this from my heart. Bankers. Now, that's a scary breed of humans on Earth right now. You see, this banking community, and Saint Germain will talk more about the evolution of the current banking systems. But it evolved out of some of the very old feudal systems, which right there should give you a clue as to the energy behind it. And then it, without getting into conspiracy, it came to a select group of humans from a select group of bloodlines that created somewhat a global system for finances and for banking. Now you have a crisis worldwide, and they don't have a clue The big names that you've heard that Calder is saying we can't say Rockefeller, but the big names that have been behind monies over a long period of time, they don't have a clue. Now, in a way, they don't care because they pay careful attention. They think that they have enough so that they're insulated from the crisis that is going on in the rest of the world. But, you know, when new energy and old energy get together, sometimes they don't mix so well, you see? Sometimes, how to say, what did Tobias called it? The collisions occur, and very unexpected things happen. Very unexpected. But so right now they're sitting in their mansions, taking a look at this banking crisis, and they don't have a clue what to do. So they send out a lot of messages, and they come up with a lot of new programs that they send down the road to the ones who sit at the actual banks, the ones who are making the loans, the ones who are sitting in government not regulating when they're supposed to be regulating. And what they're doing right now is creating commotion. It's called a smoke screen. To give the impression that they know what to do. But, dear Shambra, they don't have a clue. Not at all. They are as perplexed as you are. No, I'm sorry. They are more perplexed than you are about what to do. They're trying to go back into the old systems. They're trying to go back to their forefathers' way of doing it, and it doesn't work. Right now, they're trying almost anything to make it look like they're doing something. And that adds to the general chaos, adds to the confusion of the day. Businesses are busy right now. Businesses that have been very well established for long periods of time are going through a situation that even their analysts can't analyze. Even their gurus in finance or marketing or R&D can't figure out. They don't know if they're topside or underside at any given point. And as much discussion is taking place around the board tables, nobody really knows what to do. Nobody knows what to do. How could they? In less than 1 year, the world has been turned upside down. Ways of doing business of the old are not necessarily the ways of the new. Those who held the power, finding the power melting away, and nobody knows what's going to happen next. It's a pretty scary deal. And I could continue going down the line and down the line and down the line, talking about institutions, talking about those who have been the leaders, those who have been helping to pave the way in the past, don't have a clue. And that in itself should be frightening to the human self, the human mind. But as you are feeling into these energies, in another way, it's extremely liberating. There's always the fear that what happens if there's mass chaos on earth? What happens if this situation right now gets pulled so tight that it snaps? What happens if we do a little repeat of Atlantis? What happens if the weather gets so bad that it causes a lack of food, that it causes riots in the streets? So there's that human part of you that's really feeling into this. And that's where we're at.